can't kill us all Nazis, and then say mask off, and then go show up at their little thing that they have, their little office space, and show up with kids and moms and say, stop wearing your masks and let me see your paperwork. Something like that. Something that's quasi-legal. They don't like. And that's all I have for you guys.
Absolutely.
Please stay safe and have a croissant.
Thank you.
And bring some croissant donuts to some of them too. That might help.
Thank you, Johnny. Have a good one, my brother.
Right?
Yes, they do. Neil, your thoughts?
I just the Tallarico Crockett race, and I'm glad. Appreciate Johnny's call. I'm glad we don't talk about it too much here, at least on my time. That primary is in 53 days, and one of those people will be gone. To me, they're both multi-million-dollar corporations. They are extracting huge amounts of resources. That money is going. It's not, your local Democratic club needs $100 for stamps, for postcards to voters. Tallarico, Crockett, Tallarico. After that primary on March 3rd, one of those folks will be gone. So it's something we obviously need to discuss, but it seems very remote to me. I'll vote for whoever wins. I'm basically staying out of it, but to me, it's like Special K or Wheaties. They're giant. They're marketing. Whatever amount of money they're going to spend. I just know that they are not sitting there thinking of us. I don't have a problem with them. I don't give them much thought, but just as you, the listener, have your own discussions with people about the Texas primary or primary. There's so much going on, and they suck up so much oxygen. I'm not hearing you, Egberto. So, okay, yes. So we also have, yes, we're having some technical problems with Egberto. We talked a lot about the race between Alejandra Salinas and Dwight Boykins for Houston City Council. And Alejandra Salinas, this was an at-large position to replace Letitia Plummer, who is running against Denise Parker in the Harris County Democratic Judge primary. And yesterday there was a vote, as succinctly as I can put it. Mayor Whitmire wants to take $30 million from the Stormwater Fund. Well, he's gonna take $30 million from the Stormwater Fund to demolish a building and to demolish buildings, saying that the buildings are a cause of blight and dumping, and that gets into our water and watersheds, turning it into a stormwater issue. It was a very long debate at Houston City Council. They had 5 or 6 hours of discussion by the time it was over. It passed 9-7. But what I wanted to note was that Alejandra Salinas voted against the mayor. A lot of the conversation about Alejandra Salinas was, would she be in the mayor's pocket? Would she show some autonomy? And she voted against the mayor. It was a good start, and hopefully she's going to have some independence. I see Egberto speaking, but I'm not hearing Egberto speaking. So it was very good to see that from Alejandra. One of the things that took place at council 3 or 4 weeks ago is that they also, right before the holiday break, is that they voted to continue the once a month evening public sessions. They're at 5 o'clock now. It's usually the third Tuesday of the month. There's a public comment session each Tuesday at 2 o'clock generally at Houston City Council. You can sign up by 3 o'clock the previous Monday, but there has been an evening session for the last 6 months, and it was a trial period, and they voted to continue it permanently, moving it to 5 o'clock. It had been starting at 5:30, and it's been getting a really large crowd every month. And there's been a lot of speakers about ICE in Houston, There's been a lot of organizing around it, and it has been it's been a successful experiment. So, Egberto, are you reconnected? No.
He seems
An ICE agent killed a woman in her car, shot her in the head, according to Minnesota authorities. DHS says she was trying to run over ICE officers.
Okay, I think I am trying to get some connections going. Okay. Yeah, well, I do want to. The sound may not be. Go ahead.
On a completely unrelated subject, but this just came across my desk. The Texas Agriculture Commissioner, Sid Miller, apparently, here's our farm update. It's early in the morning, so I'm going to give you a brief farm update. Texans are receiving unsolicited seeds and liquid from China. And Sid Miller is saying, don't plant that. People are receiving unsolicited, and they feel that it's potentially a plot to introduce invasive species to Texas and destroy Texas agriculture. So I was looking for material while Egberto was off the air, but I want to report that. So this morning, if you go to your mailbox or someone delivers you an unsolicited seed or fluid from China, don't plant it. You might be bringing in the killer weed.
Oh, I want you know what? It's so sad that you never know if what these guys are telling you is true or not.
Right.
So
I was trying to figure out the angle.
Now, so let me just say this to everybody listening out there. Neil just said what Sid's talking about. There are some invasive species coming in. Please go ahead. If that ever happened to you, please contact us. We want to see if this is true or not. So go ahead and send us a line to kpft@politicsdoneright.com. To Neil, what is your Houston Democracy Project email?
Oh, it's NAA 61840 @gmail.com. NAA 61840 @gmail.com. That's right. Contact me. Mystery seeds are coming to New Mexico, Alabama. If you receive an unsolicited package, do not open its contents. Instead, keep them sealed and contact the Texas Department of Agriculture immediately. Maybe they got agents. Come and check it. But you're right. I was trying to figure out what the angle was. Whether is this true or not?
Yeah.
I'm going to guess it's true.
Yeah. Anytime I hear anything like that coming from a Republican, that's the first thing I think of. Is it real or not? Is it real or not? You know.
And I'm hearing you, Egberto. You're a little low volume.
I had to use a different microphone.
There you go.
Because I understand there's an issue. And sorry for the sound, guys, but I don't have a choice. Something actually happened. And yes, I understand we're transmitting now on YouTube, we're transmitting on others, but we're not transmitting on Substack. There's something that went on with the network. People are texting me like crazy to say, hey, where are you? Where are you? Anyway, go ahead, Neil, continue.
Let's see. And there also, this just came across my desk here, that the specifics of the specifics of a protest at 4:30 on Friday. Educators stand against ICE. Join us to defend our community schools and advocate for justice for all immigrants. 4:30 Friday, the 9th, at the Hazard Street Bridge on I-59. Carpooling strongly encouraged. And these protests. Now, I'll tell you who's been coming to the bridges in Montrose have been the Proud Boys. There have been at least 2 incidents in the last 4 or 5 Saturdays where masked Proud Boys have been in Montrose with banners about "Take America Back," and I have heard it said that folks from Space City anarchists have been meeting them directly and running them off the bridge. I don't think there's been a a fight, an actual physical fight. But that's going on. But if there have been, we'd seen previous reports of Proud Boys on the bridge over 45 in Conroe, and whether it's the same crew, I'd like to think it's the same 12 people, and that's all we got. But there's so many. Why do you need to join the Proud Boys when you can join ICE? Right? I mean, you don't got to form a militia.
Oh
They
well,
got one
trust me,
set up for you.
Proud Boys, Proud Boys will be joining ICE. There's $100 million
Oh yeah.
budget to recruit them. Anyway, let's go to Bruce, slide number 1. And sorry for the sound change, but we are having some sort of a severe technical problems, and I don't know if it's starting at Restream, but Restream shut off every single one of our streams for some reason, and we can't get the stream back to Substack. But come on in, Bruce.
Hello.
Bruce,
hi, Bruce.
Yeah,
you're on.
Hello, can
you're on.
Yeah, I'm not going to comment on Minneapolis because I want to keep my language clean. When I was cashing my paycheck, and back when I was working, there was a sign on the door saying remove mask and glasses before entering. Any community that ICE shows up at, all the businesses need to do the same thing. I think it was Cortez, you can correct me, that plundered the Aztecs. So I see Donald's new name as Donald Cortez Trump. When you talk about voter suppression, I called this show months ago and said if they challenge one of our votes, we need to challenge 2 of theirs. I'm done.
Look, I love what you just said. For every vote that is challenged on one side, 2 should be challenged on the other. I'm with you, and I believe it or not, when they talked about my friend what's his name, Greg Palast, he wrote a complete documentary on what occurred in Georgia about these people challenging thousands of votes, and I said, okay, that's cool, because once you challenge a vote, you get a chance to, get it off the rolls, all that kind of stuff in Georgia. I said, wait a minute, where is the posse on the other side doing the same thing? One of the things that when you're first run by your ethics, you don't think about doing things like that. But when you're in a war, you have to think about things that way. If they do it, you see, they go under the assumption that you're not going to do it. You'll just be a victim and complain. What you have to do is payment in kind. Payment in kind. Let's go to. Oh, wait, did you want to say something?
Actually, the caller talked about taking off your mask at a business place, and there was this in Memphis this week. I think it was this week. There was a small business owner, a black man, had a sandwich shop, and he said no ICE. He wouldn't even let him in, and they surrounded his business. ICE, Customs and Border, apparently Tennessee State Guard, and some Memphis PD. They actually went and stood in his parking lot and intimidated him. It went on for at least an hour. I think there are about 50 of them, just to send the message. These folks are an organized gang. They are just a straight up gang.
They're thugs. Let's go to line number 2. Derek, come on in, Derek.
Hey, I agree with Neil. You know, the sad thing about all this, Alberto and Neil, is that, when you kill a man, it's like you kill an individual. But when you kill a woman, it's like you killing a nation. Because she do carry the potential for other human lives. But they don't want to see it as that. If this type of stuff continues, you're trying to spark a civil war within the United States. But I just want to throw this in here, too. Y'all, it's not no accident that online transmissions are being interfered with. There are certain words of truth that is being said that is triggering that AI to cause interference. I don't believe It's an accident, Alberto. I was given a book years ago called Black Rage, and what jumped out in that book, it spoke of a communistic media. A communistic media. It's no accident with the billions of backups that we have, and brother, you are an engineer. Why are you having all these transmission issues all of a sudden just because a person speaks certain words and all of a sudden it's just trigger and throw out the whole, transmission? But that's all I'm talking about.
Derek, let me tell you this before you go, because this transmission glitch that I just had, right? As I'm speaking and as I'm trying to keep the program going, I'm also in the back end looking at exactly what went wrong. And let me tell you, what actually went wrong, as from my point of view, was actually scary. When I brought up the back end, each stream that I had to YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, LinkedIn, and Substack, Telegram, every single one of them, they were just turned off. I mean, it was just like I went into the back end and turned it off. But let me tell you better. Guess which was the only stream that stayed going? Twitter. Twitter was the only stream that was not turned off. So I'm looking at my database here, and I'm like, what's the probability that everything gets turned off except Twitter? And of course, I can't turn Substack on because I have to get another ID, streaming ID, to do that. So I mean, look, let me tell you first of all, folks, for all the people that are into this privacy thing, that they want to keep themselves private and all of that, I'm going to tell you a dirty little secret. In our world now, it's impossible. Mm-hmm. All you can do is, whenever you think you're compromised, let the world know what you're doing. Let the world know. Let the world know what's happening. Because as far as you being able to keep it from the authorities, the people, the Donald Trump, let's go further. When Doge went into the government, what was the real reason you think Doge went in there? Do you really think Doge went in there to clean things up? No, they went in there to have full access to everything. So, and everybody that's listening to me, this isn't conjecture or anything of this nature. Derek, if you want to go, you can go now, my brother. I just wanted to say that you actually nailed it. Okay.
Thank you,
Derek. Yeah, you nailed it. But let me continue this now, because now that we are having some transmission problems, and I was able to see where it's coming from. Not where it's coming from, what actually happened. I don't know where it's coming from. I know what happened. Okay. Now, but what I want to tell all of you is everybody is being watched. Let's go a little bit further. AI, with the speed at which they can do things right now, they can correlate everything. In other words, so if they really want to find fraud today, they can. And the reason why is having AI is now having investigators on steroids. The only way around is not doing things electronic. But who can survive in our community? How could activists survive without communication, other than going back to the days when we had, what is it called? The muckraker days, right? So what I'm going to say, I'm coming to you now. Let me go to Joni, and then I'll continue this after. Joni, come on in.
Hi, Egberto. I just want to use this as an opportunity to encourage you and KPFT and everyone out there to maintain your contact with physical reality outside of the internet, because it is too susceptible to too many threats. It's there to sell, surveil, sedate, manipulate, and ultimately to separate us. So if we maintain terrestrial radio, for instance, I heard Dwayne Bradley say on another show that he doesn't see a future really in terrestrial radio anymore. And that if we don't maintain that contact, then we're susceptible to whatever the big tech industry, who are Trump's allies, let's face it, and the allies of his ilk across the globe, if we don't maintain our connection to our community directly where we are, our natural world, our concrete, that's our shared reality. Our shared reality is what's going on with our air, our water, our communities directly. We can't control what's going on in another country as much as we can right where we are, where our voices can be heard. So anyway, that's all I have to say. I'm off my soapbox.
Well, Joni, don't. This isn't a soapbox. You're absolutely real. I don't know if you heard the show where I told everybody everybody needs to have the emails of their sphere of influence, the phone numbers of their sphere of influence, and address. In other words, the email is still one level of separation. Not that it can't be controlled, but if the email will be delivered, you can put a payload in the email that is pretty darn safe. Okay? If you can get an email from point A to point B, the payload in that email can be fairly protected. When it comes to address, of course, if I know if I can reach Neil, it's okay. Did you want to interrupt me, Joni?
Oh no! Well, I just
Joni?
wanted to add also. I know people. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Hello?
Yes, I can.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Also, maintain actual currency, actual cash. I know that's crazy. It sounds like I'm going back to the Stone Age, but maintain your cash. Maintain ability to use cash. So. And email, yes, I still use email. Go to the library and check my emails. And anytime if I give you an email now, it's from the library. So maintain your public library as well. But anyway, thank you so much for everything Joni. You do, Neil and Egberto and KPFT. All right, thanks. Bye.
Thank you so kindly, Joni. Joni is absolutely right, but there are some of us that thought, okay, we have these streaming platforms, and Neil and I can be on TV every day because we can create our own network, etc. But the network is not ours. It belongs to one of the big boys, the billionaires, right? So they can shut us down any time. But we can go, as Joni said, to the library and drop an email that even AI isn't quite smart enough to know in the appropriate time what to do X, Y, Z. All right.
And without making people
go ahead.
Paranoid, they know where you are on the street too. The flock cameras, when you're at the intersection in Houston, and I'm sure out in the county, just take a look. Keep your eye on the light, but take a look. There's a camera. And remember in Houston they got rid of the red light cameras a few years ago under the guise of privacy. What people really wanted to do was run red lights. And I know people. We had this discussion. I remember we had this discussion a few weeks ago. But they're watching you, and I don't say this in a conspiratorial fashion, but you do need to be cognizant that they're on you.
That's I have friends, right, who refuse to use Google Docs and refuse to use these other things because they'll have access to us, etc. But they still use other online tools that purport themselves to be safer, right? I want to inform everybody there is nothing safe once you throw your stuff online. And as Neil actually pointed out, even physicality is not all that safe with regards to tracking. So what we have to do is be cognizant of this. Always remember to be in community. They can always get us on as individuals. This rugged individualism that we preach, it's something that we need to forget. We need rugged community. That's what we need, rugged community. And we have to be in touch and in contact with our people. When I say our people, anybody in your sphere of influence.
Right.
We have to do these types of things. Let me throw it to the studio. We got about a couple of minutes, and let's see if Mayana and Jack has anything to add before we shut it down.
I actually there's also the re-election coming up of District 8 in District 18, because I was trying to find out when that is. because that was put
Neil
off.
mentioned that earlier this morning. Yeah, Neil, tell us when is the dates.
So
When are the dates?
it's a bit confusing, but so on January 31st, this upcoming January 31st is the final runoff between Amanda Edwards and Christian Menifee. That's to complete the term that Mayor Turner died in. Then on March 3rd primary, in the new District 18, after the mid-decade redistricting, Al Green, Amanda Edwards, Christian Menifee, and some other people are on that ballot for the term that begins January 3rd, 2027. I hope that's clear. So January 31st, Mayor Turner's term, Menifee Edwards. March 3rd, the Democratic primary, Al Green, thrown out of his District 9, in with Menifee and Edwards. So it's conceivable that Menifee or Edwards could win on January 31st, be in Congress to the end of the year, lose on March 3rd, and someone else begins that term. Does that make sense?
It's that.
Wow.
It seems like that's a very
Not
likely.
really, but
that's
yeah.
a very likely.
I got
That's
it, but
a
it
likely
doesn't make
outcome,
sense.
actually. It's a very likely outcome. But anyway, here is Jack. Do you have anything to say before we pass it on to Neil?
No, Neil can go.
All right,
Go
come
ahead,
on
Neil.
in, Neil. Close
so
us down.
6
1
o'clock
minute.
today at Post Oak and Westheimer. 6 o'clock today at Post Oak and Westheimer about the ICE killing in Minneapolis. You can start your own protest. The First Amendment is your permit. Have your own action. You can do it. Houston Democracy Project is my effort. HoustonDemocracyProject.com. There's a blog I frequently update and would love to hear from you.
Thank you for that, Neil. And folks, I'm very, very sorry for the streaming problems that we had. It's not our fault. I can tell you that categorically. We will try to kind of get to the bottom of it. I doubt if I will. But anyhow, I want to thank you for being here with us. I want to thank you for being with us at 3 o'clock. Love you all. You can reach me directly at kpft@politicsdoneright.com, kpft@politicsdoneright.com. My name is Egberto Willies, and this is Politics Done Right. You guys know how I end this baby. I am what? Out!
Okay, great.
You're listening to the American Democracy Minute, keeping your government by and for the people. As a solution to declining voter registration rates, 24 states and the District of Columbia implemented automatic voter registration, also known as AVR or motor voter. Mistakes including the registration of non-citizens have occurred, but it's also resulted in helping millions more Americans register to vote. AVR allows an eligible citizen to show citizenship, age, and residence documents and register to vote while at the DMV in addition to local election offices. Texas is investigating 2,700 non-citizens on its voter registration lists, including some who may have been accidentally added at the state's Department of Safety. But an average of 100,000 Texans each month out of 18 million registered voters uses the DMV to register or update voter registrations. Beginning in 2024, Oregon found its DMV had registered 1,700 non-citizens to vote due to systems and training deficiencies, but only 9 of those non-citizens voted, and the state took immediate corrective action. From 2016 to 2024, Oregon's law has registered almost 767,000 of its 3 million voters through AVR and raised its number of registered voters by almost 20%. While Oregon and other states are considering more changes, studies show where AVR is implemented, voter registration improves. Find the studies at AmericanDemocracyMinute.org.
This is KPFT Houston, 90.1 FM and FM HD1.
From New York, this is Democracy Now!
They are already trying to spin this as an action of self-defense. Having seen the video of myself, I want to tell everybody directly, that is bull. This was an agent recklessly using power that resulted in somebody dying, getting killed. And I have a message for ICE. To ICE, get the out of Minneapolis.
In Minnesota, thousands gather for a vigil Wednesday evening after an ICE agent kills a legal observer in her car. Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey decried the shooting, rejecting claims by the Trump administration that the agent acted in self-defense. We'll go to Minneapolis for the latest. Then the U.S. has seized 2 more oil tankers with links to Venezuela, days after the U.S. attacked Venezuela and abducted President Nicolas Maduro along with his wife.
As you've seen today, 2 more ships were seized. We are in the midst right now and, in fact, about to execute on a deal to take all the oil. They have oil that is stuck in Venezuela. They can't move it because of our quarantine and because it's sanctioned. We are going to take between 30 and 50 million barrels of oil.
We'll go to Caracas for the latest and speak with a Venezuelan economist. All that and more coming up. Welcome to Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, the War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman. In Minnesota, thousands gathered in a Minneapolis neighborhood Wednesday evening for a candlelight vigil to mourn a 37-year-old Twin Cities resident who was shot and killed by an ICE agent earlier in the day, shortly after she dropped off her 6-year-old son at school. Renee Nicole Good was a mother of 3 who lived in South Minneapolis with her partner, just blocks from where a masked ICE officer fired 3 shots at her at point-blank range. Good's mother described her as loving, forgiving, affectionate, and an amazing human being. She was killed blocks from the site of George Floyd's murder in 2020 by Minneapolis police officers, a killing that sparked protests internationally under the banner Black Lives Matter. Video of Good's killing quickly spread across the internet, sparking protests and demands for accountability. The footage shows masked ICE agents approaching a vehicle being driven by Good, screaming for her to get out of the effing car, using profanity, attempting to pull her driver's side door open. As Good backs up her car slightly, then attempts to drive past the officers, a masked agent pulls out a gun and fires 3 rounds into Good's vehicle, which then crashes into a nearby car. Another video shows the aftermath. Outraged residents, including a doctor, screaming at the agents to let them check the mortally wounded driver for a pulse while she's seen bleeding, limp, and slumped against her car's blood-soaked airbag.
Can I go check a pulse?
No! Back up! Now!
I'm a physician!
Hey, listen, we understand. We got EMS coming. I get it. Just give us a second. We have medics on scene. We have our own medics.
Where are they? Where are they? How can I relax? You just killed my neighbor!
Witnesses say medics responding to the shooting were forced to approach on foot after federal agents obstructed their access to the scene while pepper spraying bystanders who protested the killing. Good was ultimately brought to the Hennepin County Medical Center, where she was pronounced dead on arrival. Department of Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem accused Good of weaponizing her vehicle to commit a, quote, act of domestic terrorism. And in a social media post, President Trump falsely claimed Good had, quote, violently, willfully, and viciously ran over the ICE officer who seems to have shot her in self-defense, unquote. Trump went on to say, quote, it's hard to believe he's alive, but is now recovering in the hospital, unquote. Video from the scene shows the ICE agent walking away after the shooting with no signs of injuries. Minnesota officials condemn those remarks. Democratic Governor Tim Walz issued an order to prepare to mobilize the Minnesota National Guard, calling Good's killing preventable and unnecessary. This is Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey.
They are already trying to spin this as an action of self-defense. Having seen the video of myself, I want to tell everybody directly, that is bull. This was an agent recklessly using power that resulted in somebody dying, getting killed. To ICE, get the out of Minneapolis. We do not want you here.
This comes after the Trump administration ordered a surge of 2,000 ICE agents to the Twin Cities this week, after President Trump called the region's large Somali community garbage and accused state officials of failing to root out fraud in social services programs. The killing of Renee Good was at least the 9th time federal immigration officers have fired on people since September. 5 people have died in mass deportation operations since President Trump retook the White House. After headlines, will go to Minneapolis for the latest. Illinois Democratic Congressmember Robin Kelly has announced plans to impeach Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem in the wake of Wednesday's fatal shooting by an ICE officer, calling her an incompetent leader and a disgrace to our democracy. Kelly's 3 articles of impeachment allege Noem has engaged in obstruction of justice, violation of public trust, and self-dealing. Kelly wrote in a statement, quote, "From Chicago to Charlotte to Los Angeles to Minneapolis, Secretary Noem is violating the Constitution while ruining and ending lives and separating families. It's one thing to be incompetent and dangerous. It's impeachable to break the rule of law," she said. The Trump administration's announced plans to control sales of Venezuela's oil indefinitely, as it demands Venezuela's government cut ties with U.S. adversaries, including Cuba, China, Iran, and Russia. On Wednesday, White House Press Secretary Carolyn Leavitt said the U.S. would continue to dictate policy to Venezuela's interim leaders after the abduction of President Nicolas Maduro and a bloody U.S. military raid on Caracas early Saturday morning.
The president is fully deploying his peace through strength foreign policy agenda. So we're continuing to be in close coordination with the interim authorities, and their decisions are going to continue to be dictated by the United States of America.
On Wednesday, U.S. forces seized 2 tankers linked to Venezuelan oil exports, one in the Caribbean, the other a Russian-flagged tanker in the North Atlantic that the U.S. had pursued for weeks. In response, Russia accused the U.S. of violating maritime law, calling for the release of the ship's crew. Their capture came as Vice President J.D. Vance reiterated the Trump administration would have complete control of Venezuela's oil reserves. In Caracas, interim President Delcy Rodriguez defended plans to cede control of Venezuela's oil to the United States.
Venezuela está abierta a relaciones.
Venezuela is open to energy relations where all parties benefit, where economic cooperation is very well determined in commercial contracts.
On Wednesday, President Trump told the New York Times he expects the United States will be running Venezuela for years to come. Meanwhile, Venezuela's interior minister said 100 people were killed in the U.S. attack that removed President Maduro from power on Saturday. We'll have more on Venezuela later in the broadcast. President Trump praised Colombia's President Gustavo Petro after the 2 leaders held a more than hour-long phone call Wednesday. It was a stark shift of tone after Trump previously threatened to attack Colombia and called the Colombian leader a sick man involved in the cocaine trade. After Wednesday's call, Trump said it was his great honor to hold the conversation, adding he's planning to invite President Petro to the White House. Petro responded from a rally in Bogota.
Que la paz se encuentra hablando. Y por eso...
Peace is found through dialogue, and that's why I accept President Trump's proposal to talk. We'll see what comes of it. I'll keep insisting that an alliance is possible in clean energy, because it brings peace and life and love. Colombia knows how to take advantage of peace.
President Trump announced Wednesday the U.S. will withdraw from dozens of international and United Nations entities, including the UN Framework Convention on Climate Change, the UNFCCC. The move would make it difficult for a future presidential administration to rejoin the 2015 Paris Climate Agreement. In a memo to senior administration officials, Trump also said the U.S. will quit participation in UN Women, which works for gender equality around the world, and the UN Population Fund, which is focused on family planning and the health of mothers and children in more than 150 countries. In Sudan, at least 13 people have been killed, including 8 children, after a drone strike hit a house in the city of El Obeid. That's according to the Sudan Doctors Network. The group says it's likely carried out by the Rapid Support Forces paramilitary group. Meanwhile, several Sudanese women recounted harrowing stories of rape by the RSF to Al Jazeera. A senior doctor revealed 14 infants were raped. The UN describes the situation in Sudan as the world's worst humanitarian crisis, as the civil war between the Sudanese army and the RSF has been raging for nearly 3 years. More than 11 million people have been displaced, and over 150,000 people have been killed. Israeli forces killed an 11-year-old Palestinian girl, Hamza Hossa, in northern Gaza on Thursday, and shot another child in the Zaytun neighborhood of Gaza City. On Wednesday, Israel bombed a residential home in the Al-Tufa neighborhood east of Gaza City, killing 3 people. The strikes occurred west of the Yellow Line, which confines the Palestinian population as part of the U.S.-brokered ceasefire. Since the truce took effect on October 10th, Israel's killed more than 420 Palestinians and injured more than 1,100. This comes as Israel cleared the final hurdle to begin construction on the E1 settlement project near Jerusalem that would split the occupied West Bank in 2. The project has been under consideration for more than 2 decades, but had been put on hold due to U.S. pressure. Meanwhile, UN Human Rights Chief Volker Turk said Palestinians in the occupied West Bank face apartheid. It's the first time a UN Human Rights Chief has used the term.
Whether accessing water, school, rushing to hospital, visiting family or friends, harvesting olives, every aspect of life for Palestinians in the West Bank is controlled and curtailed by Israel's discriminatory laws, policies, and practices. Israel is violating international law, requiring states to prohibit and eradicate racial segregation and apartheid.
President Trump Wednesday called for increasing U.S. military spending to $1.5 trillion in 2027. Up from the 2026 military budget set at $901 billion. In a post on Truth Social, President Trump said, quote, "This will allow us to build the dream military that we've long been entitled to, and more importantly, that will keep us safe and secure regardless of foe," unquote. This comes as President Trump has threatened military action in Greenland, Iran, Mexico, Cuba, and Colombia following the U.S. attack on Venezuela. And the House Oversight Committee has secured subpoenas to seek testimony from billionaire Les Wexner and 2 executors of the estate of convicted serial sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. The subpoenas come as the Justice Department has released just over 12,000 documents from more than 2 million files related to Epstein, which amounts to less than 1% of its files. That's despite a law passed by Congress ordering the DOJ to release the vast majority of files by December 19th. U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi claimed in a federal court filing Monday the DOJ's supposed efforts to protect the identities of Epstein's survivors had slowed the process. And those are some of the headlines. This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, the War and Peace Report. Coming up, we go to Minneapolis, where an ICE agent killed a woman, Renee Nicole Good, on Wednesday. Stay with us.
Faces, forest blazing, oh, what have we done? I daydream of time lying in tons, and who would dare drive change.
Finally returned by Marie Sue, performing at the Brooklyn Folk Festival. This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org. I'm Amy Goodman.
And I'm Nermeen Sheikh. Welcome to our listeners and viewers across the country and around the world. In Minneapolis, thousands gathered for a candlelight vigil Wednesday evening to mourn the death of 37-year-old Renee Nicole Good, a mother of three who was fatally shot hours earlier by an ICE agent at near point-blank range. Video of the shooting shows masked ICE agents approaching her vehicle, screaming for her to get out of the effing car, using profanity, and attempting to force open her driver's side door. As Good attempts to drive past the officers, a masked agent pulls his firearm and fires 3 rounds at Good. The shooting comes after the Trump administration deployed over 2,000 ICE agents to Minnesota.
Trump administration officials claim the agent acted in self-defense, but local officials, including Minnesota Governor Tim Walz and Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey, rejected that claim. This is Mayor Frey speaking Wednesday.
We've dreaded this moment since the early stages of this ICE presence in Minneapolis. They are not here to cause safety in this city. What they are doing is not to provide safety in America. What they are doing is causing chaos and distrust. They're ripping families apart. They're sowing chaos on our streets. And in this case, quite literally killing people. They are already trying to spin this as an action of self-defense. Having seen the video of myself, I want to tell everybody directly, that is bull. This was an agent recklessly using power that resulted in somebody dying, getting killed. There's little I can say, again, that'll make this situation better, but I do have a message for our community, for our city, and I have a message for ICE. To ICE, get the out of Minneapolis. We do not want you here.
According to press accounts, Renee Nicole Good was shot shortly after she dropped her 6-year-old son at school. She was killed less than a mile from the site of George Floyd's murder in 2020 by a Minneapolis police officer, a killing that sparked protests internationally under the banner Black Lives Matter. Democratic lawmakers have accused President Trump and Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem of spreading misinformation about the shooting.
Department of Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem accused Good of weaponizing her vehicle to commit a, quote, act of domestic terrorism, unquote. In a post on Truth Social, President Trump claimed Good, quote, violently, willfully, and viciously ran over the ICE officer. Trump went on to say, quote, it's hard to believe he's alive, but is now recovering in the hospital, unquote. Video from the scene shows the ICE agent walking away after shooting with no signs of injury. However, video from the aftermath shows outraged Minneapolis residents, including a doctor, screaming at the agents to let them help Renee after her crash into a parked vehicle after the shooting.
Can I go check a pulse?
No! Back up! Now!
I'm a physician!
Hey, listen, we understand. We got EMS coming. I get it. Just give us a second. We have medics on scene. We have our own medics.
Where are they? Where are they? How can I relax? You just killed my neighbor!
At a vigil in Minneapolis last night, residents decried the shooting of Renee Nicole Good and the Trump administration's decision to send 2,000 ICE agents to the Twin Cities. The surge in agents began shortly after President Trump called the region's large Somali community garbage and accused state officials of failing to root out fraud in social services programs. This is Mustafa Hassan speaking at the vigil.
It's important, honestly. It's just, one, we lost a civilian / a human being. You know, we all live in a small world. It doesn't matter what color or race you are. I'm here on, even though me being Somalian and what I'm dealing with, we had somebody who also that was in our community who passed away.